Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. DCM, Mr. Andrew Schofer, Director INL Lori, Mr. Kosar Abbas, Executive Director SDDO, Mr. Muzaffar Sheikh, Additional Inspector General Police, my coursemate, officers from FIA, police, social welfare, labor, child protection departments, members of civil society, bar, media, and academia. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my profound privilege and pleasure to be with you this afternoon. I'm so glad to be part of today's proceedings that it's hard to express it in words because this is something we dreamed of. Today's gathering has a mix of practitioners from every relevant agency to this issue that we are discussing today. And it's very rare to happen. And when we look back a few years, this kind of discussion was hardly there. We started off with enactment of Trafficking in Persons, Prevention of Trafficking in Person Act 2018, and that set the ball rolling. Then we implemented, enforced, issued rules, Trafficking in Persons rule in 2020. And again in 2020, we had another very important legislative measure taken to enhance international cooperation, that is Mutual Legal Assistance Act. All these landmark legislation paved the way for a robust response to this very important challenge that not only we face in Pakistan, but most of the countries, including we saw this afternoon in the earlier session, the speaker from United States highlighting their challenges and their responses and their strategies. So it's a global phenomenon, not limited to one country, but every country has a responsibility in its own sphere to respond to it. Unfortunately, in Pakistan, despite these landmark legislative enactments and a wonderful work from all of you, I had the privilege to work with some of the outstanding men and women sitting here in this room. And I can very proudly say that you are one of the best that we have in this country. The way you investigate, prosecute, protect, and play your roles in ensuring victim safety, rehabilitation, and prosecution of offenders, this is remarkable. But despite your own wonderful work and despite these important laws that we have in place now, there are still gaps that I was glad to glance through the groups which were constituted for this conference. And I must appreciate STDU for doing it in a very structured and methodical way. First of all, highlighting the issues at legal framework and policy level involving the parliamentarians, of course. Their ownership is very important. Then dealing with issues at the implementation level, discussing amongst FIA, police, labor, social welfare, child protection, and other departments. Another key area that the conference discussed was relating to prosecution and the trials of the cases which are submitted to courts after investigation. And more importantly, the conference the group, some of you were part of that, discussed relating the issue related to awareness. This is very important, though I mentioned it in the last, but I think awareness raising is very, very critical, not as a matter of a perfunctory function that we should be doing, because at the moment there are two major issues that we are facing. The first of all, there's a lot of social acceptance for this menace of trafficking. People do not understand that they are either committing, sporting, or somehow they are complicit in the commission of something which can be construed as a trafficking offense. So we see it all around, but still there is such a acceptance level at this social level that we do not consider it as something which is a crime. So I think first of all, the awareness raising should minimize this acceptability at the social level. And secondly, the understanding of this term is still not very comprehensive, even within the law enforcement. It's different nuances. I was going through one of the reports and it very diligently highlighted the different harboring and transporting and other acts which constitute the trafficking act. And then there are other categories of sexual exploitation and forced labor and bonded labor and domestic labor. So all these categories need to be very comprehensively explained to the public as well as to the victims and also, more importantly, to those dealing with it, all of you. So in this context, I think the main issues that have been discussed in today's proceedings were very, very relevant. And I am very glad that as the Director General of National Police Bureau to share with you that it is not merely coincidence that these issues which you very diligently deliberated during the last 2 days are also the top priorities of National Police Bureau. We are working on it for last 6-7 months, and as Kausar mentioned, under TIP rules, we are mandated to maintain a database on trafficking in person. Under that rule, all the recommendations that have been made by one of the groups pertaining to categories of offenders, victims, routes, trends, we are compiling that. It's in a very embryonic phase, but we are doing that. So I just wanted to share that some of this. Similarly, one of the recommendations pertain to addressing the gaps in the law. We, with this support of UNODC, have already prepared a draft amendment which we had shared with Ministry of Interior. We hope that with the coming of the new government, it would be approved and passed through the Parliament. National Police Bureau has also provided a collaborative framework for international agencies as well as for the local agencies, because we believe that partnership is key to addressing a challenge like trafficking in person and also smuggling of migrants. But more so in this. So we, and I'm glad to see Andrea here. She was a constant part of our deliberations. All the development agencies working on issues relating to trafficking in persons and smuggling in persons are part of that. And we want to have a similar collaborative framework to synergize our efforts with all of you. So we'll be having another focus group discussion with all of you, hopefully by mid or end of April, where we'll follow up these recommendations and some of the work that we have already done so that we come up with an action plan, like we have recently done in gender responsive policing. So we'll have an action plan on, in addition to what FIA has done, or in complementing that effort. So we'll have another more comprehensive action plan with your inputs. The groups have discussed victim-centric approach. Obviously, this is the essence of the new laws and new strategies. So it's very important that we follow it up at operational level. I've already discussed the importance of interagency coordination. TIP is already there, but we want to have a monitoring system at the national level to follow up its working. Referral and support services are very important. I'm glad to see you so passionate participation by officers of social welfare, labor, and child protection departments, because you are the key stakeholders in this context. One of the recommendations mentioned that there are insufficient number of shelters. I fully endorse it. Unless we develop and build proper appropriate shelters, all other things will not fall in place. So it's important that we have in place properly built, adequately equipped shelter homes. So I think there needs to be a budgetary allocation, prioritization at all levels. Public-private partnership is very important, and as part of United Nations Transnational Crime Convention implementation review, we are already engaged in that. And I think because a lot of private sector businesses employ child labor, and they unconsciously or consciously are engaged in some of the things which might not be very helpful, and they should be aware of it, and they should be partner in our fight against trafficking. Another important recommendation which has been made here, and we are also working in the National Police Bureau, is the community engagement. We have established a community policing unit in the National Police Bureau with a particular focus on gender responsive community oriented policing. I think in combating a crime like trafficking, which is so embedded in the community, and there is such a high level of social acceptance, it's very important that we engage with the community in a very enlightened, very structured way, so that it's as a matter of strategy, it's a whole of nation response that we need to see. It cannot be addressed solely through enforcement measures. So, all in all, I think it has been a wonderful event, as was the case previous year. I was part of that conference as well, and it gives me a lot of pride to be part of today's proceedings as well. So my compliments to all the agencies sponsoring this event. You have been instrumental in bringing this issue as a national agenda policy debate. And my compliments to all of you who, under very challenging and constrained environment, are trying to deliver in the best possible way. And last but not least, Kosar, I must appreciate you, your team, and STDU for again organizing a very well thought out conference, and very successful. Thank you so much.